Okay, now to begin to understand the origins debate, one of the things we need to be very sure about is that we understand the genre or the literary style of Genesis.
Yes.
There are different types of literature in the Bible. There's poetry, as in the Psalms. There are parables. Well, Jesus used those to, teaching tools. There's prophecy, as in the books of the last section of the Old Testament, Isaiah to Malachi. There are letters, as in the New Testament, epistles written by Paul, Peter, John, and the others. There's biography, as in the Gospels, and there's also autobiography, like in the books of Acts, where the author Luke is recording events that he is participating in. And then there's historical records, as in the books of the First and Second Kings and many other books of the Bible that contain accounts of events that actually took place, like the birth, life, death, and physical resurrection of Christ, for example.
That's right. So what's Genesis? If it's poetry or meant to be understood as some sort of a metaphor, then perhaps the millions of years we hear so much about could just be a part of how God created. Now, English poetry often features rhythm and rhyme, in other words, sound patterns. Those features are really hard to translate into another language. And the great thing about Hebrew poetry, like in the Psalms, is that it features different kinds of parallelism and a particular verb structure that translate well into other languages.
Yeah, Hebrew scholar Dr. Stephen Boyd, whose PhD is in Hebraic and Cognate Studies, performed statistical comparisons of verb type frequencies between historical and poetic Hebrew texts. And he came to the conclusion that Genesis 1 is clearly historical narrative, not poetry, with a 99.997% probability. Oxford Hebrew scholar Professor James Barr said that as far as he knows, there is no professor of Hebrew or Old Testament at any world-class university who does not believe that the writers of Genesis 1 to 11 intended to convey to their readers the ideas that creation took place in a series of 6 days, the Genesis genealogies provided by simple addition present a chronology from the beginning of the world up to later stages in the biblical story, and Noah's flood was global.
Which history is true, either biblical history or the millions of years history? And we'll do a few examples, you'll get the idea.
Given the current erosion rate, the continents should be eroded to sea level after only 10 million years. Now, the two competing histories give very different predictions for how many supernova remnants astronomers should find in the Milky Way.
Yes, yeah. And the data supports biblical history. Wow. The Bible wins again. The Milky Way is not billions of years old. This is fun, isn't it?
This is fun.
It's great.
And there are literally hundreds of examples like this.
Creation or evolution, which do you believe?
I'd probably have to say evolution.
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 Is there any powerful argument that makes you think evolution is true that causes that confusion?
I think the studies that have been done on apes and monkeys are pretty compelling.
Mostly fossil records and just databases of really just the fossil records.
In your church background, were you ever exposed to any scientific evidence for creation by your church leaders, pastors, anything like that?
Definitely not. Nothing in particular, no.
No, I don't believe so.
Do you still attend church today or not anymore?
Only for holidays.
We kind of stopped going together as a family, but...
Did your church leaders, student leaders, bring in any creation teaching that showed you there was scientific evidence to support the Bible's account of creation?
Yes.
Yeah, we learned a lot about different creationist scientists and the proof of young earth creationism.
What are you studying now?
Biology.
Biology, right. Steeped in evolution. So, but you're not convinced by the evolutionary arguments in your biology classes?
No.
Still attend church today?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, every Sunday.
Would it be fair to say then that being able to discuss creation openly at church has helped strengthen you in that area, prepare you for what you've learned here at college about evolution?
Yes.